right, welcome back to another edition of the White Mountain Endurance Podcast. I'm your host, Patrick Heron, and joined by two exciting guests this afternoon. We have both Marilyn Stiles and Noah Doherty on the podcast with us. Welcome, both of you.
Welcome. Thank you.
Noah, for those who don't know, you probably saw him around most of the events this past summer. Working all the hours, early morning, late night. He was there all the time. But Noah's our director of events for Aravaipa out in Arizona. But I know you're a New Englander at heart.
Right.
We'll claim you here. And then Marilyn, who has been part of the White Mountain Endurance crew for last couple of years. I guess we'll go right into it. Exciting announcement for 2025. She'll be coming on as the new race director for all 6 events of the White Mountain Endurance series. So congratulations, Marilyn. How do you feel?
Oh, I'm so excited. So excited. Yeah.
Yeah, we're psyched to have you on board.
Breaking
and yeah, I know people love you in the White Mountain Endurance community. You just bring such good energy to all the races, and just a great friendly face, and you know everyone's name better than pretty much everyone. So congrats on that. We just wanted to go into a little bit of a preview and overview of the 2025 season. We've had a couple of races sort of quietly open registration, but the real kickoff is this Wednesday at 12 a.m. or I guess Tuesday at midnight, however you want to look at it. Just go through the calendar. There's some new dates. So guess we'll kick things right off with White Lake Ultras coming to you on May 3rd of 2025. Same fun as usual, held at White Lake State Park in Tamworth, New Hampshire. We've got that 24-hour, 12-hour, and 6-hour categories. And just a really great, 2-mile loop around beautiful spot right at White Lake State Park. Super accessible event. Whether you want to go out and run a couple laps or an ultra or the furthest distance you've ever run. There's sort of something for everyone there. Marilyn, you have any thoughts you want to add about White Lakes and that event?
Oh, it's a great way to kick off the season. It's such a great environment, as you were saying, and the venue is at this beautiful park, really nice lake, a beach. It's a really great environment for families. So if people do want to do the ultras, they want to bring their families to come and hang out, they can set up an aid station for themselves, a tent. There's a play area for the kids, and it's just such a really, really fun environment.
No, you didn't make it out to White Lakes this year, but any thoughts on your end?
I have not been to White Lake. 2 things would be, one is the state parks do open this up for us. They're not open yet so they open it specifically for this race. So it's all there for White Mountain Endurance, which is really cool. And there's campsites that we also have as an option to reserve. So if you wanted, same thing, like you bring your family or friends and you want to stay the extra night, you have a place to actually camp. And then it's just a beautiful place to hang out for the weekend kickoff the summer 2025 season.
Yeah.
It's also a really great race for an ultra if you are supporting yourself, because we have it's loops around the lake, and then we have the aid station. You're always coming back to the aid station. We have a fully stocked aid station the entire time. You can also set up an area for yourself as well to have all of your own food and beverage. But it is a really nice way if you don't have any other support and you needed support. It's a great race for that, for a solo person.
Yeah, and there's so much like camaraderie out there on the course, because unlike some of these other races that we offer where, the field spreads out and you might really not see anyone after the first few miles other than aid stations. Here you're constantly surrounded by other runners and your friends. I think that, it, like from even just the, crew side of things and watching it just makes it really fun. A lot of good energy throughout the day and the night. Any aid station highlights for you, Marilyn? Any favorite things that we served there?
Oh boy. Well, there's always the hot food going, all through the night and the morning. So all of your usual favorites, your quesadillas and pancakes in the morning and bacon. And so all the good stuff.
Yep. And we had ice cream, right? Ice cream last
We
year.
always have Papa Beans ice cream is always there too.
I think there's isn't there a pinata at midnight or something like that?
Yes, the
Yes.
midnight pinata.
The midnight pinata, definitely.
A good reason to stick around till midnight.
Have a fire going all night. So
Nice.
Awesome. Yeah, so that's the kickoff to the season. So White Lakes is currently open for registration. We've had a number of signups across all the categories. So yeah, get your name in the hat and come join us at White Lake State Park. Next up on May 31st is the Chikura Mountain Race in Tamworth, New Hampshire. This is one of the probably fan favorites, a real classic. Always tends to sell out. So yeah, we'll be opening registration on Wednesday for that one. 23K race, just your true kind of classic mountain course. I think there's just under 5,000 feet of climbing in that one. And yeah, you make your way right out of the gate, up the what's the name of the trail there? Marilyn, you would know.
I have done it.
Maybe have it in my mind. Anyways, it's like pretty much I think 1,800 or so feet of climbing in the first 2.5 miles, maybe 2/3 of the way up the mountain, and then you head back down the mountain to an aid station, and then you do the full ascent to the summit of Mount Chikura, and just a really, kind of a unique summit in that it's pretty just exposed, incredible views of the surrounding White Mountain National Forest. We've got a whole mix of weather over the past few years. Some days you can, see for many, many miles, and other days you can barely see the the feet on the ground. So, yeah, it's a really fun event, and it also is the kickoff to the White Mountain Endurance Cup, which was brand new this past season in 2024, and much to everyone's excitement, bringing it back for 2025. So that'll be the grand kickoff. And yeah, I guess we'll dive maybe a little bit into, for those listening, the White Mountain Endurance Cup. We're kind of creating this series with four of our events, and the sub ultra distances, your true mountain kind of classic races with anywhere, they're kind of in the 20 to 30K range, all of them. You get a good mix of several of the 4,000 footers in New Hampshire. So if you're working on that list, it's a good way to check off some of the peaks. And yeah, we'll go into the other races a little more shortly, but Chikura Mountain Race, Bald Face Scramble in July, Jigger Johnson in August, and Kilkenny Ridge Race in September are the 4 races of the Cup. You have to complete 3 of the 4 events to be considered a finisher of the Cup. This year we had right around 20 or so finishers of the Cup, which was awesome for the class of 2024. Some really intense racing to make the leaderboards. It came down to just 2 points on the women's side and 3 points on the men's side, separating the leaders. And the points are determined by your percentage of time based off the winning time. So literally every second matters out there. Regardless of place. It's a good reason to, keep on moving during the race. We score your best 3 of 4 races and award prizes at the end of the series. Next year, we'll be adding 2 new members to our Aravaipa racing team in the Northeast, who were the previous series winners. So that's also a really exciting way for supporting the elites here in the region. Yeah, Marilyn, what were your thoughts on the Cup this year? I know, yeah, you heard a lot of really great feedback about it.
A lot, yes. It was, being brand new, we didn't really know what to expect, but the sub ultra distance was a huge, huge, huge hit. It brought out so many people to the races that were intrigued by our races and really interested, but the longer distances just were a little bit too long, the ultra distances. So this just brought out so many people, and it was amazing to see the level, from every level of athlete out there, and everybody encouraging one another, supporting one another. It was such a positive experience. I've heard nothing but amazing feedback. So I think it'll be even more popular this year for sure.
Yeah, it provided such like a great storyline for the season. Really fun to get to know, some of the top competitors better. Both Ethan and Cody, who are our videographers for 2024, they did an incredible job capturing some of the events.
Yeah.
So definitely head to the Aravaipa Running YouTube channel if you're interested in, just checking out any of the Cup races. The storytelling they did was superb, really awesome. And you get an incredible look into just some of the, technicality and ruggedness of these courses. The White Mountains, they call it the Beast Coast for a reason. So yeah, anyone who, toes the line, is, yeah, just, we're super, impressed by that. And it's really for anyone, whether you're, like you said, new to trail running, it's a great introduction to ultras if you're looking to make that step up. We had all ages, from teenagers to up to 70 plus years old at this last season's Cup races. Noah, any thoughts on your end on the Cup?
Yeah, I think one thing that I think is really cool about it is, and like you pointed out with the videos, is it shows like, wow, this is super technical. But there's also points that are not technical where it's like, okay,
Yeah.
now the person that can speed, somebody that can run fast miles can make up time here. The fast descents like Baldface, and even some of coming off the Jigger course down the ski resort.
Yep.
Like, there's times where you have to be, different types of runners can excel in different points within the race, which makes it super interesting, I think. The whole race put together, it's like, all right, you can beat me on the uphill, but I'm coming for you on the downhill.
Yeah.
Or the mile in and out of town or whatever it is. I think that's what makes it super interesting, and that's why the stories were really great with the Cody and Ethan recording all that. It was cool to see that too.
Yeah, you definitely have to be a pretty versatile runner to excel at these races because, yeah, if you're, strong in the climbs, then you might have people getting you on the descents or the flat stuff. And yeah, I think the athletes that shined, really were able to master it all. And
for sure.
a lot of strategy. And yeah, especially come Kilkenny, that final race where I know we were all anxious at the finish line trying to do the math for like, all right, who's it gonna be? So yeah, that
for sure.
And yeah, new this year, we're adding a race pass for the White Mountain Endurance Cup. So if you want to guarantee your entry into all 4 events and get a nice discount off all of the entries, you can actually sign up this Wednesday for all 4 races at once. Some of these races are pretty popular and can either sell out or get pretty close to selling out. So the race pass is a great way to get your name in all of them. And so that allows you to register for all 4 races at once. Great way to commit to the season. Noah, any other thoughts on the race pass?
Yeah, I think the pass is nice. It kind of locks you into the whole series. And yeah, we've found it to be pretty successful for people. I think people kind of like it's motivating too, where it's like you're not teetering as much. You're like, all right, we're in. I got my date set, and it's one every month, so it's not overwhelming. We tried to do our best to stay off other race weekends as much as we could, and make sure it was not conflicting with other New England races. So hopefully, that kind of fills up people's schedules even more.
Yeah, they're nicely spaced out where they're, you know, generally a month or so apart. And
I guess
yeah, whether
technically you
you
don't have a June one, right? Because now it's May 31st instead of June
yes,
1.
so that one's a bigger stretch.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then from there, yeah, about every 3-4 weeks or so. Um, and yeah, you know, whether you're racing all of them hard or some of them used as a training run for a bigger race on the calendar, I think, yeah, they're a great way to just have a fun time up in the whites. So, yeah, that's an overview of the Cup. We'll get back to the Cup shortly when we get to Baldface, but our next race in the calendar after Chikura is the Race the Cog on June 28th in 2025. Definitely one of the most unique events in the country, if not the world, for races. You runners will actually, if people are familiar with Mount Washington, which is the highest peak here in the Northeast, and one of the more dangerous and crazy ones in the world when it comes to weather. I know they already have snow on it this time of year. I've been enjoying seeing those photos, but yeah, they have a cog railway that goes from the base up to the summit, taking the shortest and steepest trip up the mountain. And runners will run, hike, crawl, etc., parallel to the cog on their way up to the summit, and then they can take the train back down, or if they're bold enough, they can hurl themselves down the mountain on our new, I think it was new this year, the Devil's Shingle Round Tripper, which that brought a lot of excitement, that downhill race this year. So yeah, it's a 2.75 mile summit climb, or the round trip would be that times two, and 3,500 feet of climbing in less than 3 miles. So one of the few vertical kilometers around, and yeah, some pretty intense terrain. I think the cog riding next to the runners is really exciting, where you can have your friends and family spectate and cheer you on as you're headed up to the summit. Yeah, Marilyn, what are your thoughts on Race the Cog?
Well, it was exciting to begin with, and then this year when we added the double shingle, just added a whole other dimension. Very, very cool. I'm glad that we did that, and I'm glad that we're keeping that. Again, I wasn't really sure how many people were going to go for that. A lot of people were very interested in double shingle, and were really excited after they finished too. So that was a really great addition. And also another option too for spectators is people can have family or friends take the auto road up from the other side of the mountain.
Oh yeah.
And meet up there as well. So they have two options for if they want friends and family to join them up at the top if they finish up there and they want to spend some time up there too. So it's a great way to get other people involved.
Yeah, we have 3 divisions, right? We've got the elite, sort of intermediate, and chill pace. So they actually have the cog trains spaced out accordingly. I think the first year pretty sure Joe beat the cog. The last couple of years the cog has taken the W. I know they've they've been pretty competitive about it. So, but it's always a close race and fun to see who ends up on top. Let's see, any other things with the cog? Yeah, just like a unique way to experience the summit of Mount Washington and to get up. And yeah, that Devil's Shingle Round Tripper is just gnarly. It was super fun to see some of the people bombing back down the mountain, and then as runners are coming up, you get to witness, you know, some of these runners head back down the mountain, and I know that was pretty impressive to see for some people. So yeah, Race the Cog, June 28th. We've opened registration for that already for next year. So yeah, come join us in Bredon Woods. Next up in July, so this will be a new month for Baldface Scramble, which was an entirely new race for White Mountain Endurance in 2024, but definitely one of the ones people really loved. So we were moving that from August back to July. So that'll be July 26th for the 2025 season. That's in Chatham, New Hampshire. And we've got both a 29K option and a 14K option. The 29K is part of the White Mountain Endurance Cup for those competing in the series. And that features 6,200 feet of climbing. So quite a bit. And the 14K, 3,400 feet of climbing. Bald face, for those unfamiliar, just like a really, the ledges are what it's famous for. Yeah, Marilyn, you want to add some detail to Bald Face?
Oh yeah, this one is a lot different, even different from Chikora. It has a lot of ledges and scrambles, which make it a totally different race at the especially the first part when you're climbing at the very beginning of the race. But people were really, I think they were excited about it because once they did it, it was really challenging, and they were really, all of the feedback that I heard at the end of the race was they were just so excited to have taken on such a great challenge, especially in a race. So that was exciting to hear. And just the venue itself was super cool. The field that we were in, the farm, and the people, the owners of the farm who let us use the property. It was just such a great environment, and we just had amazing feedback from everyone. So the first year was definitely a huge success.
Yeah, the venue is definitely really special. That was one of the highlights of it for me. Yeah, just beautiful, and having that was just a great way to, both for the start and finish, and people hung out throughout the day. Noah, any thoughts on your end on Bald Face? I know you were out there this year.
Yeah, I think that race has a lot of potential to grow once people get up there and see it, because even if you did just the Bald Face loop, it's awesome. And then the second loop is quicker, but still adds a lot of climbing. And the ridge lines are really pretty when you're up top. Almost feels alpine,
Yes,
it's just granite on the top. And when I marked it, it's kind of funny. I had never been on them, and everybody's like talking about the ledges. They're like, it's really hard to follow. You don't know where the trail is. You're looking for cairns or paint dots, And I went up the wrong way on accident. I missed like a left-hand turn, so I was going down the ledges, and I was talking to a guy up there who was running, like we crossed paths. He's like, and it was pouring rain that afternoon. He's like, oh, you can't go down the ledges tonight. I was like, I kind of have to. So
yeah.
Hopefully I'll be all right. But I thought it was really cool. And actually, I kind of feel like it was actually better to mark it that way because I could see down the ledges easier, rather than look, because it blocks your view so much. But I think people did really well. And there's some really great photos from Ron who got right on the ledges, and you could see the angle that they're climbing, hand over foot on the rocks. And
yeah, those
really
are epic, where they're like, all right.
Yeah, like he's not even turning his camera. It's like, this is just the angle of what you're actually mostly safe. If the only downfall is it was socked in at the top. I don't think people got the view that they could get, but if you do get that, it's pretty exceptional too. Yeah. So we're excited. We're really grateful that the family is having us back. They were super inviting, and they helped us out all weekend with setup. They were there on race day handing out awards. So we're excited to go back there too.
Yeah, the kids at the finish line was
Oh, they
awesome.
were great.
They were just brought so much energy, and that was awesome. So Bald Face Scramble, July 26th, 29K and 14K. Opening registration this Wednesday for Bald Face. Next up, which the iconic Jigger Johnson Ultras. So we're moving back to August, which it was in previous editions of the event. Last year was in July due to some, stuff going on parts of the course. But we'll be moving back to August. So it'll be August 15th, that sort of Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The 100-miler, 50-miler, and 20-miler, right in Waterville Valley, New Hampshire. Yeah, wow. So much to say about Jigger Johnson, but just the name itself has a lot of stories to it. But yeah, one of the gnarliest hundreds out there in the world. 28,000 plus feet of climbing. It's a unmarked course. But you're using the trail signage that's in the White Mountain National Forest. It's an out and back, and the 50 miler being a one-way trip, so you get to experience half of the course of the 100. And then our 20-mile option, which is part of the White Mountain Endurance Cup, that's a loop with 5,900 feet of climbing and starting and finishing in Waterville Valley. And yeah, that you get Osceola and Tecumseh as your two summits. Marilyn, I know you have a history with Jigger Johnson. Tell us all about your experiences and love for that course.
Oh, I love it. So I ran in the 50 miler the first year that the Jigger Johnson came out, and it was pretty incredible. So I started training on the course 3 years ago, and I've been on every part of that course many, many, many times over the past 3 years. So I know it well. As anyone will tell you, it's a very, very challenging, hard course that really pushes your limit, that really both mentally and physically. It's definitely a big challenge. And you do get actually 3 of the 4,000 footer summits, because there's 2 Osceola peaks. There's Osceola and East Osceola, and then also Tecumseh. So you get all 3 of those peaks. In the 100 miler, they get those on the way out. On the way back, we changed the course this year, so they don't go over those on the way back. And the 50 miler, they start at the moats and they come to Waterville Valley, so they'll go over those peaks. And then the 20 miler goes over all 3 of those peaks as well.
And yeah, we had 14 finishers in 2023 for the 100. This year we saw quite a few, 27 finishers, which was really impressive.
Yeah.
And yeah, you could just tell, like, a lot of people were coming back after 2023, whether they got the finish or not in 2023, they were coming back for more.
2023 was
awesome.
a tough year with all of the rain. It was
wet.
Pouring, absolutely pouring. So not only are you wet and your feet wet, but also you're on some very challenging terrain that's wet and very, very slippery and very hard to navigate. So that was a really tough year.
Yeah, we were gifted with like just such a gorgeous weekend. We lucked out, for sure. And even just on the organizing side of things, it made it a lot more enjoyable. Just that nice weather. And so our remind me the cutoff for the 100 for folks wondering. 50. What's the cutoff? 54 hours.
Which is I think that's the biggest thing about our ultra distances is the amount of time it takes, and the cutoffs they seem really long, and then you see how long it takes people to finish, and you're like, oh well, this is how rough the terrain is. This is what it is,
Yeah, I mean, for perspective, our course record for the men's side is 30 hours, 27 minutes. That was Keith Nadeau in 2024. And on the women's side, Katja Fink in 37 hours and 47 minutes. So yeah, that I think helps just show like these are, top athletes, and it's taking them 30 plus hours to cover the course. Yeah, I mean, just compare that to, races like Hard Rock or UTMB. It has similar amounts of elevation, but just the sort of, technicality and remoteness of some of these trails. It's just, different animal. Any other thoughts? Oh yeah, go on, Noah.
Sorry, it just makes it hard when you get to the top of a summit and you're like, all right, now I can make up time, and then you look at the rocks on the way down, and you're like, oh, never mind. I can't gain any time here, so let me just hike down, make sure I don't break an ankle. So it's definitely, we found that the time is needed. And it is over 100 miles, right? Like just the course itself.
True. That's a good point.
So it's actually well over 100. Yeah. And without sacrificing any more climbs, we're probably going to keep it there. So
we had about 108 miles or so for this updated course.
And 50 milers, what was it, 56 or even 58? Like it's still quite a bit over.
Yeah.
20 milers legit. That's legit.
Some point. Yeah. Yeah, so Jigger Johnson, we're excited to be moving it back into August. And yeah, part of the White Mountain Endurance Cup for those interested in the 20 miler. You get a little, well, I won't say little because it's still quite a beast, but you get a great preview of the rest of the course. And yeah, well, the 100 miler and 50 miler is open for registration, and the 20 miler will be opening with the rest of the White Mountain Endurance Cup races on Wednesday. All right. Well, we're down to the final race, Kilkenny Ridge race, which, just happened a month or so ago. We're still enjoying the memories of that. Kilkenny Ridge race will be back September 20th for 2025. Kilkenny Ridge, just a really cool course over there. Wild and woolly is what we like to call it. It's super remote. A lot of people who are familiar with the Whites and spend a lot of time in the Whites don't even get up that far. So the start finish is hosted in South Pond Recreation Area in Stark, New Hampshire. Really great venue for it. I know Noah enjoyed some time out on the pond in the kayak. So great, similar to White Lakes in that it's a great place to, bring family and friends, hang out along the beach there. The 50 miler, 25 miler, and 25K, those are distances, with the 25K being part of the White Mountain Endurance Cup in the season finale. 50 miler has over 15,000 feet of climbing. And then the 25 miler is similar to Jigger Johnson, where it's, point to point, half of the course. And so that's 7,500 feet of climbing. And then the 25K, 4,000 feet of climbing. And you get, two of the 4,000 footers. Is that right? Yes. Cabot and Wambeck. Marilyn, any thoughts on your end to add to Kilkenny?
Yeah, I think, the Kilkenny Ridge is a very, very popular ridge, and it's a ridge that a lot of people want to do, but it's difficult to, because if you want to just do the one direction, then there's the car spot, which is a lot. So I've done, I ran in the race 2 years, and then I've done the ridge 2 other times outside of that, just for training, and the whole car spotting it adds a lot to your day. So it's a great way to experience the ridge, and you don't have to worry about a car spot. If you want to just do a 25 mile, we bus you to the start and then you run to the finish. And there's a couple of aid stations along the way. So it's a really great opportunity to experience the ridge. For people that had been wanting to do that. It's a great race. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful backcountry trails.
Yeah. Noah, what were your thoughts after this year's event?
Yeah, I mean, when we left, what would it have been? Baldface, I think it was August we were talking about. And then we were talking about Kilkenny being the kind of finale. And you're like, it's just such a peaceful, it's a great way to close out the season. And then we got to the South Pond. I was like, oh my gosh, we're spending the next 36 hours here. This is, talk about skiing. It was so beautiful and relaxing. And it was cool. And the course, everybody, we had great weather. So it's a really great way to close out kind of the summer season. And you're right, you're pretty far north in the Whites. Having the third distance, I think, was really nice. It brought a little energy into the course there, over at the fish hatchery. And we're excited to bring it back. It's a week later next year. We had to move it back because of our National Forest and stuff recommended it for us. So we're back a little bit later. Maybe we'll get some more leaves turning, depending on the season. And I think Kilkenny is, it's definitely a bucket list, like Marilyn was saying, for people to complete the ridge. It's a cool way to do it.
Yeah, and of the White Mountain Endurance Cup races, that 25K distance, generally people were, what I was hearing, it's one of the, less technical, less, the climbs are still technical, still rugged, but, climbs are a little more, runnable in quotations, a little more gradual as well as the descents. And yeah, just it was fun to see, as we were saying earlier, just how runners, where their strengths played out on that course. And yeah, so that'll, wrap up the season in September 2025.
Right on the beach.
Right on the beach. Yeah. That was awesome, Noah, seeing you on the kayak. I was worried you fell asleep out there. It was so peaceful and nice looking.
Yeah. No, it's a beautiful venue, and people can bring kayaks or paddleboards and hang out. And the sunsets are gorgeous. The sunrises were amazing.
That was in, what would be was there a peak that you could see in the distance from one of the 4,000 footers? Like, I remember just seeing something pop out through the clouds at one point, and that was really beautiful. But yeah, and another thing I wanted to quickly mention is just, if you're, there's always the opportunity to volunteer at these events. We're always really excited and eager to have volunteers, and you do earn race credits for future events. So that's a great way to be involved if you're, not wanting to be on the race side of things. And lots of options from, helping with registration to helping, man an aid station. Some of those volunteer spots for the aid stations are an adventure in their own, because in the Whites, some of these aid stations are pretty remote, and you're doing a lot of hiking in and camping, and that was cool to hear just some of the stories from volunteers at the aid stations where that was just another adventure. Awesome. Well, thank you both for covering the 2025 season. Congrats once more, Marilyn, for coming on as the new race director.
Thank you.
People are going to be psyched. It'll be great to have you at all the events. Awesome. Any closing thoughts from either of you guys?
Excited for 2025. Definitely excited.
Yeah, I think same thing. Thank you to everybody that joined us this year, all the volunteers, the runners, everybody that's following along online. Thanks to Christina and Rem for creating these amazing races in the White so people can come explore, supported events. I think it's really cool. We're excited for 2025. I think there's a lot of momentum. People start to see these courses, and they get excited about coming back. It seems like there's multiple events where they're like, I'm back again. I'm going to keep running this thing. So that's pretty cool to watch, and kind of a fun way to fill out the summer in New England.
Awesome. I love it. Well, thank you both for coming on, and thanks everyone for tuning in to another episode of the White Mountain Endurance Podcast. We'll see you in 2025.
Thank you.